Greg Williams is an attorney and immediate past president of the New Mexico Foundation for Open Government and a current board member of FOG. Thanks for stopping by.
Good morning.
We're going to talk about some of these legal issues. That's your area of expertise, but also you have a personal connection to this story. What's happening with your son who's just coming into UNM?
Well, his life's been turned upside down a little bit. He is an incoming freshman and recruited to play for the soccer team. It went from being really a dream situation into a real problem in that, you know, he got this rare opportunity to play not only for a nationally competitive team, but to do so at home, to be a Lobo. And it was really exciting for him and our family. And now, of course, that's been taken away, and he's kind of scrambling to figure out what we're going to do next. So.
Really tough way to start your college career. 2 complaints have been filed with the New Mexico Attorney General's office about how the regents handled the vote. Can you first break down what's required by the Open Meeting Act?
So the Open Meetings Act is designed to make sure that the public has as much access and as much participation in public processes as they can. And so what the Open Meetings Act requires is that there be adequate notice and an agenda published for the public so they know exactly what's going to be discussed. And it also requires that all the discussions by whatever the entity is, here it's the regents, be done in a public forum to avoid the problem of backroom, closed-door meetings.
And so what happened here that people are concerned about?
The process was very poor here. Ideally, what you would hope is in something as important as this, and something that was clearly as significant to the community as it is, that UNM would have been as transparent as possible. You would have expected that this recommendation to cut sports would have been released weeks in advance so that the public could have had a chance to analyze it, think about it, ask the right questions, educate themselves, and then participate in the meeting. Instead, they released it after 5 o'clock on the night before the meeting, basically slipped it under the public's door. And the public had no real way to prepare for the meeting or adequately ask questions. And so that is one possible violation of the Open Meetings Act, because they didn't provide proper notice that this action was going to be taken at that meeting the following day. The other problem is it appeared from the meeting that the regents' minds had been made up in advance, meaning that we think that they had had some discussions in advance, privately and outside public view, and that's what they call a rolling quorum, which violates the Open Meetings Act.
What's the level of proof required for that when as a complaint is being assessed?
It's difficult because you have to have evidence that they actually had these discussions. There were some references made during the board meeting that there had been some private discussions, and it was clear that the regents had come in with their minds made up. But to prove it, there would have to be depositions taken of each of the regents and the president and the athletic director, and there would have to be discovery and public records requests into emails back and forth and things like that. So it's not an easy thing to prove, but it can be proven, and it's something that I think people are prepared to go forward with.
So the Inspection of Public Records Act and the Open Meetings Act are 2 important transparency laws in New Mexico for people to use, but how hard is it for community members to hold government bodies accountable using these laws?
It takes effort. Ideally, our public officials would be as transparent and as open as they can, that would be their goal every day. It doesn't always work that way, and it's not easy for the public, but it can be done. We actually have pretty strong laws for public records and open meetings, but it takes time and effort to make the requests, to follow up, and in some cases even to file lawsuits.
Now, if these complaints are validated, verified, what happens then?
Under the law, if the regents violated the Open Meetings Act, then the action that they took at that meeting, which was to vote to cut the sports, that action would be invalid. And they would have to, what the law calls, cure the violation, meaning they'd have to have another public meeting, and they'd have to have all of the debate done publicly with all of the adequate notice requirements met.
I understand there are some ongoing efforts to try to save these teams, including soccer, which is important to your son. What's going on now?
This is by no means over. The community has really been in an uproar about this. It's an extremely unpopular decision not just here in Albuquerque, but statewide, including with the legislature. And there are organized efforts going on right now, meetings that I've been at myself, to try to get the regents to change their mind. We didn't want to have done it this way. Ideally, we could have taken these efforts before the vote, but because the vote happened without much notice, we're doing it now. But you know, the legislature has shown a real indication to increase UNM's athletics funding and to help with the Title IX compliance efforts. The community has shown a willingness to step up with fundraising. I think that if we can get together with the president and the regents and have a chance to find a solution together, I think that we can find a way to get these programs restored. And they're such a big part of our community, not just soccer, but the skiing and the volleyball and the diving and the track and all the sports affected. They really have a reach in this community, and they have a benefit. And we want to do everything we can to make sure that these programs aren't eliminated, because it makes UNM and the community a lesser place not to have them.
Greg Williams, we really appreciate you stopping by and sharing your personal and professional perspective on this issue that we're continuing to cover here.
Thank you very much.